We're back.
We're back. We're back, baby. Okay. So now we're doing Suicide Squad.
So that's my movie, Suicide Squad. Let me
Is that you?
get ready. Yeah, that's my movie.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Let me
Two
get that
winners.
Fill over here.
Robert Dubois. He's in prison for putting Superman in the ICU with a kryptonite bullet.
I'm not joining your Suicide Squad.
We'll see.
My court date is coming up. And Miss Waller said maybe you could help me out.
You're flexing in my door!
Everyone stand down.
Miss Waller, I don't...
Stand down!
I wouldn't take such extreme measures if this mission went more important than you could possibly imagine. Are you in or out? Good. Let's meet your team.
It's okay, I'm not okay.
Each member is chosen for his or her own completely unique set of abilities.
I need to feel the raindrops on my head, on my head.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Had to go number 2.
Good to know.
Is this thing a dog?
A dog? What kind of dog do you think it is, mate?
I'm gonna go with Afghan Hound.
Oh my god, is it a werewolf?
Yo, they sent me next to a werewolf! Yo, let me out!
Hey, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless. I mean, he's not harmless. He's killed 27 children, but, you know.
Your mission is to destroy every trace of something known only as Project Starfish. Any questions?
Starfish is a slang term for a butthole. Think there's any connection?
No.
No. All right. Let's get it. This is suicide.
Well, that's kind of our thing.
I'm a superhero!
Where's my dad?
I want to get you out of here alive.
I'm going to get you out of here alive.
And we're back.
We're back.
So yeah, Suicide Squad.
A Suicide Squad is
Yes.
you.
It should be nominated for no. So Suicide Squad is a 2021 DC Comics written and directed by James Gunn, known from Guardians of the Galaxy. And what's that? I can't read my writing. Anyways, Marvel. It stars. I'll give you the main characters. It stars Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Idris Elba as Bloodsport, Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher, John Cena as Peacemaker, Joe Kinnaman as Rick Flag, David Dasmachian as Polka Dot Man, Sylvester Stallone as King Shark, and Viola Davis as Amanda Weller. We'll see that on the main. You know, I saw this great quote from Vox that I had to steal it and grab it. It says, the movie explicitly argues that if mad science existed, the U.S. would be all too happy to fund its dark excesses, provided none of the transgressions played out on American shores.
So true. So true.
The plot is, the government sends the most dangerous supervillains in the world to the remote island of Corto Maltese on a search and destroy mission. So, yeah, I thought, it's another comic book movie. I actually enjoyed it. I thought the writing was really funny. A certain character I really enjoyed, which was Harley Quinn. I thought she was funny. I thought you could have put Bjork as that character too. She could remind me of Bjork. She could be Harley Quinn.
She could, actually. You're right.
And then John Cena. I love John Cena. He was so funny in it too. He's got great comedic timing. And I actually like the Shark guy, King Shark. The Sylvester Stallone did the voice because he was so funny. The little character, kind of goofy. The movie was directed by it's funny. Mel Gibson was one of the first people they asked to direct the movie because they were going through a different directors.
Oh, really?
Well, that's
And
strange.
the movie, and there were so many delays that he moved on to something else, and then they got Jean Collet Serra to direct it.
Oh, wow.
And then
really?
it was so long, so he left it to direct Django Cruz. And finally, they came
Oh my
around
God,
to James Gunn. So the the movie is funny because the movie does have a lot of, which I'm surprised the Pentagon allowed it. There's a lot of anti-U.S. messages in the movie. We're going to another country, we're going to invade it. They have a weapon that we needed. There's a lot of little references like kill and shoot and destroy everything inside. The whole building going down and with the CB4 or whatever.
Which is pretty spectacular scene.
Yeah.
I have to give
So
it
there was
that.
a lot of references.
Yeah.
I thought personally, James Gunn also, I think he wrote it as well. He wrote the screenplay.
Well, I think he's one of
the
somebody.
guys?
Yeah.
I just found it. I was cracking the whole time. I just thought the writing was so funny, very clever. It reminded me of Galaxy Quest with that really funny writing. Now James Gunn comes from also he did some trauma stuff, and I was a big fan of trauma films. I watched almost all of them. Fantastic Avenger. So I was just cracking up at the writing the whole time. It does have the violence, really violence, like trauma films, and it reminded me a lot of those trauma films. That level of violence, which is so ridiculous that it's funny. With things exploding and.
Seeing somebody ripped in half.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but they do it in a funny way. It's to me, it's done in a comedic way. So it's like trauma films. So I'm more like being disgusted by it. I'm kind of finding it funny. As opposed to a serious film where you'll be like, oh, shocked. But it's entertaining. Like Django Cruz, I thought the movie was a little too long. They could have cut off an hour of it, or maybe at least half hour. It was just too long. That was a really fun ensemble cast, and it's. I think I enjoyed it. I just thought it was fun. It was a fun movie.
Yeah, okay. I'm conflicted about the movie because I actually did like the movie, but I love the message. You know what I mean? It was so subversive that I just kind of gravitated. I was like, oh, I kind of like that. It was like, and the actual scene, you remember when the first crew went on to the
first Suicide Squad.
Right.
Yeah.
And by that, we don't mean the first movie Suicide. The first mission in this movie.
Right. There's a
yes,
couple
but
of
this is based on the Bay of Pigs.
In a way, yes.
It's so, it's just, and so it's kind of a distraction while the real thing is going on over here, which would be, what's her name? Margot
Robbie.
Oh, Margot Robbie is fantastic. I love her character. She was great. So I have a conflict about the movie. I fell asleep like at least 90 times through the thing. I was literally, because it just was like, a lot of action, no story. A lot of action, no story. So I'm conflicted about this movie. I loved the message, so subversive and so.
It's like just what's that totally you wearing on your head? It's freedom. These are little moments.
Yeah, it was so good that way. On the other hand, it was so violent. It was so, the plot was ridiculous, and that's all I got to say.
Well, it's sort of weird for me because when I watched this movie, I did not like the first movie that much. So it's like, oh, okay. But I thought, why not? So then I'm watching, like you said, the first mission. And you have people like Nathan Fillion, Michael Rooker, Margot Robbie, all that. And Joel Kinnaman.
The kid from Saturday Night Live, what was his name?
Right, exactly.
I love that guy.
So they're all in it. It's like, oh, something happens. Like, wow, that was short-lived. So then it's like, okay, it gets really violent, and I agree. This is an extremely violent movie. I also agree with you, George, that in some of the cases they make it so over-the-top violence that you could tell definitely the trauma humor is there, right? But it's still pretty disgusting to me to watch. But then, okay, they go on the mission, and it's almost like the same thing. But you're right. The one thing that's different, and I don't know if this is James Gunn influence, is that at least there seems to be a weird morality towards the end of the movie. Because this movie did sort of have a conscience to it, which I was not expecting, and not have any of this sort of anti-USA way, just the fact that at one point somebody does speak up and says there's children involved. And I thought, okay, good. I'm glad they're paying attention to that, right? Exactly. But I have to admit, I was disappointed only because I thought, it was like overly goofy. Though I have to admit, you're right. I think John Cena is really good in it. I mean, he was making me laugh because of his gung ho character and his nature, which I don't know why, but I was thinking the same thing about how these wrestlers. It's like watching, Dave Bautista in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
These guys are
funny.
hilarious, and
The
they have the
Rock, yeah.
charisma.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's like, wow, recruit more of these wrestlers
Yeah.
to be in these type of movies because they have the physicality of it. And John Cena, to me, ever since I noticed he's been doing these like straight face but tough roles, he just surprises me sometimes. I mean, I just think he's a fun actor to watch.
Well, that's one
you
thing
know?
with Dave Bautista had a hard time with WTF because John Cena was getting all the roles that he wanted to get.
Oh, okay.
And until his agent told him, this one role for you is crappy, but if you want to take it, it's some movie called Guardians of the Galaxy. They want you to be drags, so sure,
Yeah.
I'll take it, whatever.
Exactly,
But because
yeah.
John
Right.
Cena has just so much charisma when we
Right.
saw him in the movie with the.
Yeah, remember I was
Remember the tidy whities? Where you tidy whities? Hey, no, that's racist.
I was on like Twitter,
Uh-huh.
and that was one of the things I was saying to George. I was like, all they kept talking about is the Air cut. Now, my name is Ayers. It's David Ayer. He did the first Suicide Squad.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't
okay.
know that.
Right, yeah.
Right? So they kept talking about it. I'm like, George, what is this? The only reason I started following them is because my name's Ayers, and it was the Air cut. Everybody was talking about they need to do it like the Zack
Right, Snyder.
Snyder
Yeah.
cut, right? It's like, oh. So that's the only reason I started to follow it, because I'm not a comic book fan. But anyway, and he kind of checked it out for me. I was like, okay, so I started following, like the David, we want the David Ayer cut.
That's hilarious.
But you're right, John Cena, those wrestlers, they just great.
At least in this movie, and then I did like Margot Robbie, as you said.
she's great.
She was great.
She really has taken that character. I mean, I can understand why she'd have a franchise of her own because she's, I think, hilarious, but she's sort of one of those weird things where you're sort of laughing at her, like a Joe Pesci thing. You're laughing at her, but she will just kill you in a blink of an eye. I mean, there's something very disturbing about her in that performance that I appreciate it, right?
She's Bjork.
Well, she's
exactly.
supposed to be disturbing. And the thing about
Right.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie, why I so respect her as an actress, she can do something like Elizabeth in Mary Queen of Scots.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then she was Tanya.
and I
Tanya.
feel and she, I Tanya.
Yeah.
And also this movie.
And then that Quentin
believe me,
Tarantino one, last one we saw.
Yeah.
She played
Once Upon a
Sharon
Time
Tate.
in Hollywood.
Yeah.
she gives
She's a great
100%
actress.
performance in whatever role she's playing, and I feel it.
Yeah, I have to agree with most of those because almost every film I've seen her in, I'm always impressed with her. Because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I just was shocked how delightful it was to see her playing Sharon Tate with that sort of whimsy in her. And it's like, wow, this is a Margot Robbie I haven't seen. And then, you're right, watching I, Tanya, it's like, wow, she actually made Tanya Harding sympathetic to me, which I never thought anyone would ever do.
And
right?
that was the Fox one, the Fox News one movie she did too.
Right, exactly.
But I remember her as Elizabeth in Mary
Elizabeth,
Queen
yeah.
of
That
Scots.
was huge. That
In
was
fact, that's a movie that I actually want to do because
And that's also a movie that should have been nominated for an Oscar, and it was totally ignored.
Yeah, she was amazing in that role.
Well, my other favorite actress, the Irish one, what's her face? Lady Bird one.
Is Margot Robbie American?
She's Australian, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, because I was going to say, that, she has that thing of what I call English actresses. They just kind of morph into whoever they're playing.
right.
And it takes me a while to realize it's that actress, like Kate.
Tilda Swinton?
Yeah, absolutely. Or Kate Winslet, or the
Blanchett,
other playing Blanche.
Yeah.
Yes, they have a way to just kind of morph into the character. And
Tilda
she has
Swinton's
that
one
too.
of my favorites like that. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's period or contemporary.
Yeah.
They just seem to
They give
nail
it
all the
100%.
time.
You 100% believe they're that person.
Well, they're so good at it that you forget who the actress is.
Yes. And she has that talent. She was the one who stood out for me on that.
Yeah.
And I did like the polka dot guy, that David Dasmalchian. I think for some reason, I found his character very funny, yet also sort of disturbing, but not like Margot Robbie's, where she kill you. It's like he's just so goofy, and he has this thing about he hates his mother. So there's such a bizarre kind of combination there. So and it is
that is your mother.
exactly. But I had to admit there were some weird things that I was hoping would be more. One was seeing Peter Capaldi, right, the Doctor Who, playing in the movie. The other thing was, and I don't know, this could just be me, but I, for example, never knew who Rick and Morty were until 2 years ago when I was in Hawaii. I had nothing better to do, but my father had cable. So it's like, you know what? Let me watch Rick and Morty. And I got completely addicted to it. There's a show in which Rick and Morty have these things attached to their head that have one single eye. Once I saw this happen in the movie, I just said, they're ripping off Rick and Morty. Or that's how I saw it.
What's
now,
Rick and Morty?
The show.
Oh, it's just this cartoon show on Adult Swim about literally the most amazing genius who just despises everything. So he does everything for himself. He travels through time. He's created a portal through time. He can go through anywhere he wants, but he just is so self-indulgent. It has nothing to do with helping science or doing that. And it's going to these multiple universes. You know, they even have these scenes. Well, we can do a Rick and Morty show one of these days,
Well, for
right?
me, but for me, the goofiness of it too, like the Starro.
That's what I'm saying. The whole thing.
It
Right?
reminded me of Ghostbusters with the
Right, Stay Puft Guy. Right? Yeah.
It's like, okay, this turned into Ghostbusters. The movie's just going into some weird places now. But it was funny.
But see, and that's what I have to give it to this movie, and I think that's what James Gunn did, is he really made what I call a true comic book movie. This is not to be taken seriously. This has...
You're talking about this movie, right?
Suicide Squad.
I agree with you.
Because it's goofy, it has the action, it has all this.
Because it could have said, brought to you by Trauma Films.
Exactly. So it was such an odd film, but my thing is I really wasn't entertained by it myself. See, and that's why I thought, okay, if you like the violence and you like, and I mean, this is goofier than Guardians of the Galaxy, because I thought that was a fun, entertaining movie, and it was goofy, right?
Well,
but this is like way over the top goofy.
But there's some conscience in Galaxy, the Guardian of the Galaxy. There's some warmth and humanity in that.
Okay, yes.
As opposed to this. These are definitely...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why the ending sort of surprised me, because it actually does show a little bit of that, sort of in a weird way as well. But
I
at least
I think they wanted to go more in also like more like a Deadpool,
right?
Yes, I think
direction.
I think that was.
Well, I think that's what they're trying to do, but I can tell that they were almost trying to reboot not even reboot, but they're trying to change the direction of this franchise, because you could tell, they know Margot Robbie is one of the key characters.
Oh yeah,
they're obviously going to try and put Idris Elba in as well.
She's gold.
She's the main goal.
But the thing that I didn't like is sort of that whole, that touching kind of feely kind of stuff with like Idris Elba and his daughter. The same thing they did with sort of Will Smith in the first movie. It's like, this movie does not need this. We don't need this. We need a villain. We need heroes, and the problem is that in this movie the villains are the heroes. So that's where the weird conflict would come from, right?
Yeah.
And especially, I'll give it to what's her name, the one who's
Viola Davis.
Viola Davis, because she's played such a cold character in the first and this movie that she's really, really good. I mean, she really. She's another actress who has that. She has this core of steel that boy, you really get her drama.
Yeah.
So when she's pushing them and telling them, "Oh no, go like the Suicide Squad. No, you keep on that," and people are like, "No, we're leaving." It is sort of, like I said, some of the stuff is really good in this, but it's not a movie I personally would recommend. But like I said, if you're like George, you like these movies, I think you'll love this movie.
I think he was the only one who stayed awake.
I saw it twice.
No.
You said, watch it, let's watch it.
Okay. So are we going to...
Ready?
Yeah. Let's see. It was...
Me?
Was it your
His
movie?
film.
My movie.
His film. So. Oh, I gave this a 5.
Give it a 5?
Yeah.
I'll give it a 5. That's low for me.
What did I give Black Widow? Because I would put this one higher. I'll give it an 8.
Yeah.
Oh, 8. Okay.
See, you did like it that
Yeah, I
much
like
then.
it. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I watched it
You
again.
did.
You know what? I won't watch Jungle Cruise again, but I'll watch this one again.
Okay, so that concludes
And Pig.
this episode of What the Flex. You can see this video and all our videos on YouTube. Look for What the Flex podcast. You can get the audio of this episode on SoundCloud, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Spotify, and iTunes. Remember to subscribe and to like us and to leave a review. Of course, giving us a 5. So until next time, adios.
Bye-bye.